Hey guys, welcome to video number 3 of our Heart Health series for National Heart Health Month, the month of February. So week 1, we talked about how to measure your resting heart rate. In week 2, we talked about how to measure your maximum heart rate. So now that you know how to calculate those things, week 3, I want to talk to you guys about heart rate training zones. So this was kind of a big thing back in like the 90s, even in the 2000s, when there was a big push out there that you needed to be training in a certain heart rate zone to be burning fat efficiently or burning the most calories and things like that. And we now know that yes, it's important to kind of know that, but we found that HIIT training is actually the most optimal in terms of burning the most calories, having your body not accommodate and things like that, but it is still super useful to know approximately what your own heart rate training zone should be. Okay, so I got you here on my whiteboard in the gym today. We've got heart rate training zones, so we're gonna use me as an example, okay? So to remember, to calculate your maximum heart rate, you're gonna use 220 minus your age, okay? So I am 33 years old currently, so by calculations, my maximum heart rate would be 187. Remember, that is just an approximate number. Genetics play a factor. It can be tested actually in real life, but this is a good approximation to figure out what your maximum heart rate is. And remember, we don't really necessarily want you getting that high at all, okay? So like for me, training up above 180, not a good healthy range. Like chance of burning muscle mass, like causing injury, things like that, that's not what we want, okay? So when we are doing cardiovascular activity, when we are exercising, we have 2 different ways that our body utilizes energy. So one is the aerobic range, and that would be considered your fat burning range. So your body's using your fat as fuel, okay? And the next one would be your anaerobic form of making fuel, and that's when your body like really needs a lot of like high performance. It's performing at a high level. It needs to work properly, like right here, right now, and you use glycogen for carbohydrates for that energy source, okay? So you're probably thinking, all right, so she's gonna tell me that I need to be training at 60% of my heart rate zone if I wanna be burning the most fat, right? Well, that used to be the information that they feed us, but not necessarily, okay? So let me show you how to calculate first. So I went from the 187, and 60% of that would be an approximate aerobic range, okay? So 112 or lower, okay? I'd be in more of an aerobic range for utilizing my energy, but at 80% of my max heart rate of my 187, that would be 150 for me, and this would be more of an anaerobic type range where I'm using carbohydrate stores for my energy. So heart rate's getting up pretty high, okay? But what used to happen when they'd recommend that you should train in this aerobic or fat burning zone, they'd call it, what happens is when you do steady state things like going out for a run or on a bike or an elliptical, your treadmill, you get yourself to that aerobic range, you get somewhere near like that 112, but then you stay at that same incline or that same speed and your heart rate accommodates. So your body kind of figures out like, all right, I got this, and then your heart rate will actually start coming down, okay? It'll accommodate to the workload. So what we find now, and what I provide for you guys in our balance workouts, is we wanna bring the heart rate up and down and tap into those energy systems, the different energy systems, so into an anaerobic range, and then let yourself come back down to an aerobic range, and then spike yourself back up, and then bring yourself back down. So for me personally, allowing my heart rate to get high, like I'm doing, let's say, a minute of burpees, get that heart rate up to 160, but then follow it by something like full sit-ups or air squats or something where I could take a little breather and let my heart rate come down into a more aerobic state, okay? So down to the 112, a little bit lower than that, and then I spike you guys back up. We choose another exercise that is gonna bring you to an anaerobic state, bring you back up into these 150s, 160s, and back down to 112, okay? So this way your heart rate doesn't accommodate, it doesn't get used to what you're doing. You're tapping into the different energy systems going back and forth for you to burn the maximum amount of calories in a short amount of time. So this week, totally calculate your maximum heart rate and do 60% and 80% of that and take a look and see where you're kind of landing. A lot of us wear a Whoop strap, or like me, or some people use an iPhone, iWatch, or your Fitbit. Just see approximately where you are in terms of the numbers. And next week in week 4, we're going to talk about eating heart healthy. Have a good week, guys. Bye.